Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome people to the Rational League. Of course, welcome to another episode of your Rational People Talking, or irrational when it comes to a lot of stuff. Of course, Chelsea have their first bid rejected by Leicester City for Dewsbury-Hall, but we know what is going to happen. Chelsea are going to get their guy. It's signing for Maresca. Of course, he suits the system very well. It's Maresca signings. And as we said yesterday, we really thought that Maresca would only be the coach. It looks like he's going to be the one making the signings, of course, because of the first big signing for them is a Leicester City. That means he's doing a Ten Hag. We're like, I want all the Ajax players, arguably. We'll see how it goes. Kimmich between Arsenal and Manchester City. Liverpool trying to inquire and see if they can get him, but I think it will be between Arsenal and Manchester City. From Germany, they say he prefers Arsenal. We don't know why. Another Declan Rice situation, which is very strange, even though Man City spoke with him since January. And Arsenal are moving quicker than Man City in the market, inquiring. Man City are so quiet. We don't know why. After the Paqueta thing, the Guimaraes thing, that's so quiet. Big up everybody that joined us. Listen, hit that like button first if you're watching this now. We need to get to 200, 300 likes live on the air. And if you're watching this on the replay, before you go on and enjoy the show, hit that like button. Between the games tomorrow, the round of 16 will start for the Euros. So, but I want to talk a little bit something different than the Euro this time, because we're just bored of just bashing Southgate and the players.
I'm not.
And how they do. You can just take it then.
I'm only joking.
No, it's all right. How's everybody doing? How's everyone doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, all good.
Very well.
I'm lovely.
Not bad.
Because I'm here with you guys. That's why I'm lovely.
And you're not watching England. I think that's...
Yeah, maybe that too.
that.
Yeah.
Let's start with this Kimmich situation in Germany. Cheap price, 25 million pounds, if I'm not mistaken. He's on a high wages.
Pocket money.
Huh?
Pocket money.
Yeah, but his wages are 320k.
Mm.
But I'm sure that whoever gets him is going to pay less than this because he has 1 year left. He's definitely not going to be offered at the age of 28 the same wages or higher than what he gets at Bayern Munich, which is one of the highest paying club in terms of wages. From Germany, it says that he prefers Arsenal. I don't know why.
I do.
No, see, that by the way, I spoke to Martin yesterday, Martin Mancunian way, and he said that Man City have been talking to Kimmich since January. I would have assumed that he would go and work with Pep. He worked with Pep 1 year before Pep left, and I would assume that he would have just gone to Manchester City.
But firstly, how long does he think Pep's going to be at City? If he only thinks he's going to be there for a year, is it worth it? Secondly, does he think he'll start at City? Does he want to start? He's more likely to start at Arsenal than City, you'd imagine. Thirdly, everything's up in the air with Man City, with the charges. Do you want to join a club and then it will go wrong? So I think there's a number of reasons why I could see a player wanting to join Arsenal over City right now. And I don't know. It feels like City's summer is kind of, I don't know. It just feels like City aren't really doing anything in terms of extending contracts, in terms of Pep's contract, signing players. Nobbins will know more than me, but it feels like everything's
same here. Same here. It feels so slow for City. Like the news comes in like every week, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, we're City like this guy," and then it dies within 2 days, and then we never hear anything again about it. I don't know why, to be honest, because we all know that the majority of the Man City fans were not happy with the window last time with Kovacic, with Nunes, and they need Kevin De Bruyne 1 year left. But he has to renew or going to leave on a free. Bernardo Silva has 1 year left, right? Nobbins? He has to renew or leave on a free. These are assets. Am I wrong? Bernardo, 1 year or 2 years?
I genuinely do not know the answer to that. I will find out for you.
No, I'm assuming, to be honest. I'm assuming.
His contract expires 2026, so he's got 2 years left, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think his release clause, that infamous £50 million release clause, I think that expires at the end of June, allegedly. So he's apparently staying here again. I don't really know what's going on.
No, I actually think you might sell him cheaper than £50 million.
Great. For a player of his quality, that would be a steal for anyone. I'm amazed that no one's gone in for 50 million, to be honest. I'm surprised PSG weren't all over that. That just seems perfect for them. But yeah, City been quiet. It'll be interesting to see what happens after the 30th of June deadline for, because
PSR.
Whole PSR thing. In terms of I was just reading a finance article before this. City have got hundreds of millions of pounds in respect of space in the PSR landscapes. It's not a case of that they're in a situation where they can't spend money, because they can. As I say, it will be interesting what happens after the 30th of June deadline, and maybe also after the ending of the Euros and Copa America as well. A lot of other clubs have been quiet. I do hope we got to sign someone, whether that's Bruno Guimaraes, whether that's Now Neves, whether that's Onana, whether that's just someone of his profile, quality, whatever. That's the sort of player I want City to go for. We do have a small squad in terms of senior players. I think we've got, based on last season, I'm not including Gomez and Calvin Phillips, we've got 21 true senior players, which is a reasonably small, I believe. So we do need to bring in at least one more body. I'm not going to get too stressed out right now, because we'll have to wait and see. But I will go on record and say, if we don't bring in a Gundo replacement, then I think we don't win the league.
But that's the thing. It was supposed to be Matthias Nunes. It was supposed to be Kovacic. These are replacements. You have one midfielder left, if I'm not mistaken, which is Gundogan, and you brought two.
Well, that's the thing. Nunes clearly is not the same type of player as Gundogan. Nunes was I don't know if panic buy is the right term, but if we got Paquetá, we wouldn't have got Nunes. Let's put it that way. So you can read into that whatever you will. Also, again, according to club sort, people who know much more than I do, if we received an offer for Nunes which was similar to how much we paid, then we would let him go. So that to me tells me that City don't really view him as a viable option. Maybe maybe that's being harsh. I don't know. But Kovacic in my head was always going to be like a stopgap. He was never going to be the long-term replacement because he's 30 whatever. Nunes is not the same type of player. So we do need to bring in, as I say, whether it's a Bruno, whether it's a Neves, whether it's an Onana, whoever it is, that's who City must bring in. And I'll repeat, if we do not, then we won't win the league next season. We can't do that. We can't not have a Gundogan replacement 2 years in a row unless Pep does some sort of madness or Arsenal have a horrible transfer window. And I don't see that happening.
I think Kovacic to you was a bit like Jorginho to us in terms of it was never a long-term starting position. It was a player that could come in, steady the ship when necessary, fill in when necessary.
Yeah, and he's done a good job, of course. Yeah, but he's clearly not the long-term solution. He's got his own deficiencies. He's not as good in the final third as Gundo. Yeah, he was a stopgap. He's done his job. He's fine. But yeah, we need to sign. We need to sign someone. We shall see what we see. There's no reason why we can't spend. If we don't, I'll be very confused. And yeah, again, we need to because we've got a lot of quality in the squad, but in terms of quantity, it's actually reasonably small relative to the rest of the league. Like I think like in terms of like players used, we are one of the lowest, or have been in the past few seasons. So we just need physically more bodies in there, and specifically bodies that Pep trusts. So we can't include Calvin Phillips. We can't include Sergio Gomez as examples. So yeah, I don't know.
One of the problems with Man City, honestly speaking, is that if you're a top player, and Pep Guardiola or Man City are going and asking for you, let's imagine Declan Rice again this season, or someone from that ilk, and Man City are going to ask you to come and play for the club. You're looking at the club and say, okay, for all the big games and all the majority of the games, he's going to have Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, and he's going to have Rodri playing. Where am I playing? Am I going to be just a backup for Rodri when Rodri needs rest? There's Kovacic as well. There's Matthias Nunes. These guys have been there 2 years. Who am I to come in and guarantee a starting place for the City? It can be another Calvin Phillips thing. It can be another Matthias Nunes where I don't play. My stock go down, right? I am not playing enough because of the quality that Man City have, because of the Phil Foden, the Kevin De Bruyne, and the Rodri situation. And because there is no player around the world that is Gundogan level that will force their way into the squad. As Rory said, like even Kimmich, if he comes to Man City, if you're starting tomorrow for Manchester City, there's Bernardo Silva as well, which is we forgot about if he stays. So it's going to be Doku, Haaland, Bernardo Silva, Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, and the back four, whoever they're going to be. No one is breaking into that lineup unless you're a left winger, where you have to battle it with Jack Grealish and Doku, who has been great in the last part of the season. So you're looking at that like, yeah, City play a lot of games, but I have seen City play the same starting lineup week in, week out. Thursday, Tuesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, all the time. So where would I play? Kovacic is going to play, but remember, Kevin De Bruyne was not fit all season, and that wouldn't happen 2 seasons in a row. That it's unlikely.
Well, with Kovacic, like again, he's no disrespect to him, but I don't think that if he kicks up a fuss hour in minutes, like the club aren't going to care if that makes sense. So I don't think he's necessarily going to be that much of an issue. De Bruyne is getting on. He is getting older. His minutes are going to have to be managed. Rodri's minutes are also going to have to be managed. He's going to either need an outright rest or a proper partner. So I do, again, if we got this player, whoever that is, there definitely would be enough minutes for them because they'd either be replacing Rodri outright in some games, or that there would be, I think, games where only one of Foden and De Bruyne started in midfield, or you could have games where actually you could have Rodri and this new player and Foden and De Bruyne, if you, depending on the system we play, because I can only base it off what we did last season. We had systems where we had, wingers out wide, and then we had systems where we had fullbacks out wide. So there are definitely avenues where he would feature and play, given the context of the squad. It would detriment, Nunes and Kovacic, but again, I don't view Kovacic as a long-term replacement, and I don't know if I view Nunes as a long-term central player. I think he's going to have to become a utility player if he wants to stay at City. He's going to have to get better at playing out wide, which is what he did a little bit towards the end of last season. And I think he might also need to add being a fullback to his arsenal as well. So I just don't see where he plays centrally.
Yep. I want to get Dan in. So looking at the situation with what Rory said, the instability at Man City at the current moment, that starting lineup and them still keeping all their players. If you're a player, would you choose to go to Manchester City, or would you choose to go to a team where you would start?
I think it would depend on how many trophies I'd already won. If I was desperate to go and win trophies, then I think I'd go to Manchester City. I think I'd want, if I knew I needed to add to my trophy cabinet and I wanted a guarantee of that, I'd go to Man City, even with the charges hanging over their head. Because for some reason, I feel like they're going to be okay. With whatever the outcome is, I feel like they're going to be okay with it. I think Arsenal, if I was a player that I wanted to buy into the project, so I think Declan Rice is a great example. Although he hadn't won many trophies, he'd won a couple, and I felt like he felt that he could go to Arsenal, have guaranteed game time, and build something there. And I think that's where Arsenal becomes a more attractive option, is if someone's wanting to become part of something as well as wanting almost a guarantee of more minutes. But I don't think, I don't know if it's fair to say too many players would be put off by the charges, but I think it might play on some of their minds.
And the starting play, but the starting thing is big for some of the players. They need to at least guarantee a start, like not be try to have minutes when this guy is tired, when you want to rest, because bro, no one is playing over Kevin De Bruyne at Manchester City. If Kevin De Bruyne is fit and he wants to play, he is gonna play. Is a player gonna go and hope for a 20-minute at the end of the game or something like this? That is too tough. The quality of the players at Man City are way higher than a lot of players around the world.
Yeah, and unless you're willing to bide your time, like a Phil Foden, who's obviously come through the academy and wait, then I can understand you potentially being part of City's project. But obviously, I feel
like a Doku, at 21 years old, coming in and saying, I'm going to learn. But if you got to go for the 27, 28, they're going to like, hold on, where am I playing in this team? By the time I develop and get embedded, I'm 29 already or 28.
I don't know if I see it as like this player's not going to start a lot, though, because if we take if we sort of like take the system that City used a lot last season, which ultimately won the title, where let's say Guardiola push up to left wing. So then in terms of the midfield four, the box, you got four midfielders. So let's say that Foden and De Bruyne are starting, for example, and let's say Rodri starting, then there's a fourth slot there available, and this new signing would play over Kovacic and they would play over Nunes. So I don't know if I see it as they're not going to get enough starting minutes, because I've just identified a very simple one right there. It would just be an upgrade on Kovacic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably. I don't see a lot of players who upgrade over Kovacic, but I get your point. I just I get what you're saying. If you're starting four midfielders, yes, that midfielder will be there. Yeah. Doku would not be starting, which is another player that needs to start.
You could start on the right in that situation.
And you bench Bernardo Silva.
We've got, not everyone can play all at once.
All right. But that's, but you see my point. If I'm a player and I'm looking at it, I'm like, am I going to bench Bernardo, though? Am I going to bench this guy?
But we do, depending on the game. And again, like City have like three different systems. So sometimes you need a left back at left wing. Sometimes we need a right back at right wing. Sometimes we want wingers out wide. And then that changes the midfield balance therein. So it's not a case of there's one system and there's only room for X amount of players that impacts that. It depends on the opposition. It depends how it's set up.
Situation. For me, the Pep situation, leaving or staying, is massive. Is absolutely is bigger. I think it's bigger than what Man City fans think it is. I'm not sure Nobbins about you, but I'm gonna say a statement that I think the biggest pull for Man City is Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
If Pep is not staying or not sure, a player might think twice. I'm like, who's going to be the coach next season?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But that's why, if you did have a conversation with, a players camp, you would obviously have to have a conversation about, now we don't know when Pep's going to leave, but you would obviously have to reassure them that the club will still have the same lofty ambitions and would still be competing for X amount of titles and stuff. and then that's a responsibility of the uppers at the club. So yeah, of course, it's going to be not in the same way that when it was like a Fergie at United's final seasons. I think Van Persie only signed because he thought that Fergie was going to stay longer than he was. He didn't expect him to leave after one season. So yeah, of course, it's a massive thing. But at the same time, that I don't think that equates to you can't attract anyone, because at the end of the day, there still will be a very good City side post Pep. Obviously, it won't be as good because no one's as good as Pep, in my opinion. But there's still going to be a club there who are wanting to compete for the highest honours and are still very well run and still have got lots of good players, etc.
Yeah, 100%.
Would you sorry?
Go ahead, please.
Would you actually want Kimmich? Like, I've not really heard you speak much about him.
No, I like Kimmich. If City were going to sign him, I'd like him as a right back. I don't want him as a central player. For me, and I touched on this in my City signings video, players I wanted. For me, Kimmich is a fantastic player, but he's got too many weaknesses. He's too similar to Rodri in terms of what are his strengths and weaknesses. And for me, Kimmich's biggest weaknesses mirror that of Rodri's. Rodri's being that he's not the best in terms of his transitional defending, and he's not brilliant at winning duels defensively either. I think is fair to say. If I'm being really harsh on Rodri, those are the things he can't really do. Covering ground, winning duels in transition. For me, that's what Kimmich also has an issue with. That's Rice's bread and butter. So a combination of Rice and Kimmich to me makes a lot more sense than a combination of Rodri and Kimmich. That's why, again, I want someone like Bruno, because that's Bruno's bread and butter. That's João Neves' bread and butter. That's Onana's thing as well. So if we were going to sign Kimmich as a right back, brilliant. As a utility option in midfield, brilliant. But in terms of being the Gundo replacement, if he looks at himself as a midfielder, he should pick Arsenal, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he looks and that's kind of what I was getting at in terms of where perhaps Kimmich can see himself, why he might prefer Arsenal, is that he looks like a suitable partner for Rice, and he's cover at right back anyway for Ben White, who needs some more rest. So yeah, I feel like he'd get a lot more game time at Arsenal.
I actually think he's a perfect midfielder. People just forgot how good he is in distribution, and also he's good defensively.
No, he's brilliant. Just
he's very good.
I don't think he partners Rodri that well.
Yeah, but for Arsenal though, would he start over if Partey stays though? Would he start?
Well, Partey would. If Partey stays, we'd have to anticipate that most of the season he'd be injured anyway. So yes, but also I'm pretty sure Partey's going. I'm pretty sure he's off to Saudi. So
he's off to, but nobody offered anything for him.
Well, apparently the PIF have been talking extensively with Partey. They've not opened negotiations with Arsenal yet, but they basically want Partey to agree to personal terms, and then they'll figure out what club he's going to go to and all of that sort of stuff.
Kimmich would your main six behind Declan Rice and Odegaard.
Yeah. I'd go Kimmich 6, then Rice can play more as he did when he was with Jorginho or Partey.
Okay.
And then Jorginho is obviously a decent backup.
Would you take Kimmich or Eze for Arsenal? At the current moment.
That's just two completely different signs. Both of them.
No,
really.
but because it would change, because if Eze comes in, Rice goes back to how the beginning of the season.
So I don't think we'd go into next season with a midfield of Rice, Odegaard, and Eze. If you're thinking Eze as the left 8 in that sense, I don't think we would do that.
Why?
Because I think it would create similar issues to what we had when we tried playing with Havertz there, or he's a different player to Havertz. But in terms of what Rice needs alongside him, if Rice is playing as the 6, I think he needs an 8 that is more of like a box-to-box than Eze. And for me, I would see Eze coming in as just a very versatile player. So he could play as the 8, but I'd expect him also to play off the left and the right.
I actually think that midfield will bang, to be honest with you.
It would in certain games. In
the majority of the games against 16 out of 19 oppositions you'll face, that midfield will bang, will completely dominate. Rice is enough to stop transition. You got the good defense behind them, the two guys. right, with Ben White and with Timber. And actually, you have to remember that Timber now is there and he can invert and he can play left back. He's good defensively. He's good going forward. So that will leave the spaces for Eze to go forward with Odegaard. I think that midfield will bang, to be honest. I would love to see that midfield because Eze is so good in carrying the ball.
No, I agree. I think it would in plenty of games, but I don't see us just getting Eze as the only.
You think we'll get two midfielders?
Yeah, well, yes, but in that sense, I don't think Eze would come in just as a midfielder. I think he'd actually come in as almost more of a forward that would play off. I'd see him replacing a Smith Rowe or a Fabio Vieira in terms of the overall squad. It's that guy, it's the player that can play in midfield but can also play in the forward line.
Where
But we
does
also
Eze... Sorry, Rory.
No, go on.
I was just the same because I haven't watched enough Palace. Where does Eze play out of possession? Does he play in the centre of midfield?
Yeah,
does anyone know?
Comes inside and plays like behind the forward, like
what's Palace's out of possession formation? Do they do a 4-4-2?
They do one up, so it's 3-5, and then
it's kind of like a 4-5-1, really. But
okay, I'm just thinking about would Rice and Eze out of possession be stable enough for Arteta? I'm just thinking. My instinct is no.
Arsenal aren't out of position as much, and because Arsenal, when they're out of position, the 11 players go behind the ball or they press all of them.
Yeah, but we've seen the weaknesses when it was Havertz alongside Rice.
But that's got Havertz.
I don't know what that means.
It's a donkey on the pitch when they don't have the ball.
Oh, that's a bit harsh.
No, that's reality. Kai Havertz wins aerial duels because when Raya played it long, when the ball is looped up, in the game, Havertz is not that midfielder at all.
No, I'm just querying what is Eze's defensive work like off the ball. I don't know. I don't watch enough Palace to make that assessment. So I'm asking the question. And would Arteta consider Rice along Eze stable enough out of possession in their 4-4-2? I don't know. Again, I'm asking the question. I don't know the answer to that.
Rory,
that's why
Rory still go with Rice with Havertz as a midfielder was a good experiment.
I'm not saying it was a good experiment, but I don't think Havertz out of possession was the problem when he was in midfield. He's fine. Havertz is very, very good at understanding his role within a team and understanding what to do. The issue with Havertz was simply his ability on the ball in midfield, and I don't think that was good enough. His ability to link up play down that left-hand side was problematic. I don't think his out of possession play was too bad. We've seen.
Hold on, he's not good at anything off the ball in terms of if you're defending at all.
I think.
What is he good at? Can you tell me what is he good at?
He wins duels. Both. Oh, everything's going wrong. Your thing's falling down. He wins duels, both aerially and on the floor. He's very difficult just because of his body type. He's very difficult to get past. His work rate is good. I'm not entirely sure what he does wrong in that sense.
For me, I just didn't really like his.
This is it.
For me, I just didn't really like his positioning. That's all. The main example for me was the Villa game. I'm not having a go at Havertz. It's not his fault. There were just a couple of times where I felt that Villa got through Arsenal's midfield a little bit too easily. And again, it's not Havertz's fault because he's a 9/second striker or whatever. I don't expect him to be brilliant in a central midfield out of possession area, but I just think that Arteta doesn't view that as optimal. And again, so that's why I would query with Eze, would he consider that optimal? And I just don't know if the answer's yes.
I agree, and it's for that exact sort of game, for the top games, and I include Villa in that because I think Villa were that level this season. That's where I wouldn't want an Eze or a Havertz or a fucking Trossard in midfield. And so I think that's why Eze isn't a solution to the midfield problem. Because really, I think the midfielder we're looking for, if anything, is more of a 6. Ideally, one that can play as an 8 as well. But I think we're looking at this point at Rice playing predominantly as an 8 with a 6 coming in. And obviously, Eze is not going to do that.
Would you rather have Havertz or Eze in that midfield?
Probably Eze, but only because I'd rather have Havertz up top.
So if you get a striker and you have, okay, I'm gonna ask a question I asked to Martin a couple of days ago. If you got a striker, Gyökeres or whoever,
Mhm.
and you have a choice of playing Eze or Havertz in the midfield, which one would you play?
Depending on the game, and honestly, I'd have to see Eze in that midfield. Like I've seen some of Palace. I've seen a lot more of Havertz in midfield than I've seen of Eze in midfield. Probably Eze, I would guess,
Okay.
but I'm not entirely sure.
Why do you want to play Rice as an 8? Can I ask?
Us?
Yeah. Well, or you?
Good answer, Robbie, by the way. Good answer.
Well, so I actually don't. I actually would rather play. I almost think in a lot of the games where we've looked really good, it's been Jorginho and Rice, and really neither of them has played specifically as the 8. So Rice would sit a lot deeper, or Rice would actually sit deeper than Jorginho for the majority of the game. But then at times when we trigger the press, it would be Rice that would go forward and Jorginho would slip in for him. And I really liked that because Rice, like if we want to get on the front foot, I don't think there's a better player in the league at aggressively pressing and winning the ball back and getting in than Rice. But equally, sitting in front of the back line makes us incredibly secure defensively. So I kind of don't mind. I kind of don't mind whether he plays 6 or 8. And this is what I've been saying. I think whoever we sign, it doesn't matter if they're... Basically, I think we're looking at 6s and 8s this summer. And whichever one ends up being the best value in the market is the one that we'll bring in. And Rice will adapt accordingly, which I think he did throughout the season. So, yeah, I don't know. I also think it massively depends on the game. The majority of the games where we dominate a lot of the ball, I think you could have an Eze in there. Maybe not Havertz because he's better at forward, but it's the big games. The big games, I think you want Rice as the 6.
Guys, we got about 500 people here. We aren't even on 200 likes. The like button underneath the live chat, it helps the channel massively, by the way. It helps the show massively, right? The Rational League. If you like the show, hit that like button underneath your live chat. It helps the channel. Subscribe, of course, if you're new here. As Ashraf says, Mookie gifted 5 memberships. So if you got a membership, you know who to thank. Thank you, Mookie. Big up. Thank you so much, legend, for supporting the channel, of course. Jiggy Introvert is saying, I'm curious more, who would you support in the Prem? No one. I'll lose all my credibility if I support someone. All we know is that next season we want anyone else to win the league but Manchester City, just because of a change. That's it. Not because I hate Man City, just because we need a freaking change. Otherwise, we just shut it down and just move on to watch something else. To be honest, it doesn't matter if it's Arsenal, it doesn't matter if it's Liverpool. It looks like it's going to be Arsenal battering them. So that's it. So I'm not supporting anyone. I'm supporting anyone but City. I need Man United to fail. That's what it is. Ashraf saying, big up Mo and the panel. It's strange that most of the big clubs have barely made any signings yet. It's all rumors so far. I think, Ashraf, it's all about the the PSR thing. However, Everton, Chelsea, Aston Villa, they kind of made the deals together to kind of loopholes and stuff, and they got warned. So we'll see how it goes. But there are deals that happened, and there are deals with millions. Someone that is worth 1 million went to Chelsea for 20 million or 19 million. That's very good. And Ian Matson went the other way. But going back to this Arsenal thing about the left winger thing, a lot of people want the left winger. Should Arsenal then get a left winger or a striker at this current time?
At this current time, I feel like left winger would be slightly more beneficial to them. I feel like Havertz, if he continues on the form that he found towards the end of last season, I feel like they'll be okay. I don't know whether or not the striker market... Look, if they went and put the money down for Isak, then I don't think they complain. But I feel like they can cope with Havertz if they get a left winger that's absolutely contributing numbers that I feel like they lacked from maybe Martinelli last season. I don't think was probably as consistent. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Rory, but I feel like a left winger is probably weaker for you than a striker at this moment in time.
I think we need a right winger more than a left winger.
As a backup to Saka?
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, I hear that.
Off the left, we've got Martinelli, who I genuinely think will find his form again once he's got a stable left-hand side behind him. We've got Trossard, who was eventually, I think, pretty much won that spot at the end of the season. We've got Jesus, who can play off the left as well. Whereas with Saka, we just don't have anything close to a kind of backup for Saka. And people say, okay, well, Jesus could play off the right. But if we're talking about, Arsenal have a system and we want that system to remain somewhat, and I'm talking about not resting Saka for a game here and there. I'm talking about if Saka gets injured. And unfortunately, he is due an injury at some point, right? We've been incredibly lucky that he's not had one yet.
Say that.
No, I know, but it's the reality, right?
Right,
we'll be incredibly fortunate if he can continue without picking up any sort of significant injury. And if that happens, I do not want Jesus playing off the right week in, week out. And outside of that, we don't really have anyone. So, Fabio Vieira, but again, that's just a completely different player. So for me, yeah, the right wing is more important. Look, if they can play off the left as well, happy days. But yeah, and for me, that's like Pedro Neto, Bakayoko from PSV, that sort of player. But we'll see.
Here is how I see the situation about the left wing. Arsenal have 2 left wingers, right? People are assuming that Martinelli will still have a stinker of a season like last season. The season before, Martinelli has 22 GA. He scored 15 goals and had 7 assists or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. That's a massive output for a winger, by the way. Right? That's a massive winger for an output. And that's only in the league. That's only in the league. They have 2 wingers. Arteta, it's either you sell Martinelli or you get the best out of him. He's a 22 years old football player that had a brilliant season and he was an upward trajectory. He was injured a lot last season. People assuming that, yes, because he had a bad season, you need to just start looking for a left winger. Well, Martinelli is there. And Trossard as a backup is there. So they basically have 2 left wingers. They have 1 striker in that team, out-and-out striker in Kai Havertz, who is very similar to Gabriel Jesus, false 9, basically. Yeah, Havertz can be the striker, but they need another caliber of a striker. Someone that is better than Havertz or just different at the end. But I doubt that they can go to the next season with 3 left wingers. That's kind of strange to me to prioritize that place, unless you're going to sell Trossard or you move Trossard to be the backup for Bukayo Saka, which, by the way, it was proved to be wrong. Trossard in Belgium
He's not
and
right
at Arsenal, when he played on the right side, looked absolutely horrific. If you saw the other game when he played on the right side, it was horrific. Right? He just can't do it. I don't know why. So for Arsenal to sign a left winger at the current moment, I'm going to have the same energy I have for City. It's not about just stacking up players on top of each other. Because Matthias Nunes and Kovacic didn't work, Man City fans, Nobbins, is saying, we need another midfielder. Well, you signed 2 last summer. And it didn't work. It shouldn't be like, okay, I signed someone, it didn't work. Okay, let me sign the next one the next season. Arsenal have 2. And by the way, Gabriel Jesus plays left wing sometimes. So that's 3 that can cover that position. The priority should be it's either a cover for Saka or permanently you move Gabriel Jesus to be the right winger, which is we haven't seen a lot at Arsenal, only at Man City, or you sign a striker. But I like Nico Williams. I like Pedro Neto. I love Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto is absolutely exciting. But that means the end of the road for one of Trossard and Martinelli. They'll just be on the squad. Doing what?
Well, no, because I think Pedro Neto would play off the right-hand side. So Pedro Neto would be the...
Okay, so you're not signing left, so you're going to be Pedro Neto on the right side. Okay.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said about not needing a left winger. I completely agree with. I think Pedro Neto would play off the right. The issue we've got, similarly to what we spoke about with if you were joining Man City and how would you get into the team, the issue we've got is, if you're signing a right winger, they know they're going to be back up to Bukayo Saka, and they have to effectively accept that they will not get a lot of game time unless Saka gets injured. Like, he is not going to get dropped from the team.
Unless you get someone better than him.
Yeah, but I don't think that there really is anyone that's available on the market at all. I mean, there are very few right wingers better than Saka.
I'm going to rethink what I said. Actually, even if you get someone better than him, he's your poster boy. You're not dropping him.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. So we need like a Pedro Neto.
You can play left back.
That's disgraceful.
Well, it's your legend who said that. It's not us.
Huh?
So
Your
naughty.
legend who said that.
Yeah. Well, he
Even though
felt the wrath
I
of-
think he should be dropped actually in England now.
Yeah, but
Oh, shut
some-
up.
sometimes, Mo, you're a bit clueless, so that's fine.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, tell you what we'll do. We'll drop our best forward player.
Why?
That would be the clever thing to
I
do.
actually think it's the perfect game to try other options.
What, a round of 16? The first game that if we actually
Yeah,
don't win,
because
we
the
are
other-
categorically out
because
of
the-
the tournament.
Because
Crazy.
the other guys didn't play well. I don't think he played he started the first game very good, the first half. And then after this, he fell off. By the way, I have the same thing for Foden. Foden should be dropped. Saka should be dropped. That's what I think. I think the lineup should be Gordon on the left, Cole Palmer on the right, and he inverts because Gordon is the one who holds the width on the left, and Palmer. That's my opinion. Play Jude Bellingham to be continued. Play Kobe Mainoo for
Yeah, because he's been
some
great,
kind of
hasn't he?
someone.
Yeah.
Do you think Jude
Woeful
Bellingham played well in
team.
the last couple of games?
No,
I love how you
no.
want to drop Saka and Foden but keep Bellingham on the
I'm
pitch.
gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell.
staggering.
I have a very very good explanation for it, because I believe if you play Kobe Mainoo or Wharton or whatever next to Declan Rice, that is a very balanced midfielder, and Jude Bellingham has something that Phil Foden doesn't have in the 10. He has 30% of his abilities that he can be the 8 to defend, to help the midfield. Phil Foden has 0 defensive
But
attributes.
you don't need Bellingham to defend if you've got Mainoo and Rice behind.
No, you
against
do.
Slovakia.
Also,
Against
also
Slovakia.
defending is
in-
defending
in-
hasn't even been England's issue. Creating
interna-
chances and attacking has.
Because Bellingham is there.
That's part of
Here
the
is the
reason.
problem.
Yes.
Here's the thing. No. Defensively, in international football, this is not Arsenal and this is not Man City. I believe in international football, and in that setup for England, you're not Manchester City in terms of you don't have the ball 80% of the time, and the transition doesn't get stopped right away. So your 3 midfielders need to at least be able to defend out of the not press, because Foden can press, not press, defend. And Bellingham, out of Foden, out of even Cole Palmer, that's why I said Cole Palmer cannot play the 10, right? They don't defend their clubs. They aren't defensive players. Phil Foden is asked for 0 defensive duties in the game. He just press. He's not going to defend. He doesn't tackle. He doesn't do this when the opposition attack you. He doesn't do that. That's why Bellingham, who played as an 8 at Dortmund, needs to be there. Yes, he's
been so good at winning duels so far, hasn't he?
He's defending Jude
But
Bellingham in the game.
we haven't. At what point have I looked at England and thought we need to do more defending here?
Yeah.
Nobody
If
said
you're
need
saying
to be
Foden
more.
can
Bring
press,
back Jordan Henderson.
good.
But there is a
Foden
reason
can
why
press,
Foden doesn't play in the 10. You're
because
only
Southgate
thinking
hasn't
about
got
your
the bollocks
team,
to
Rory.
drop Bellingham.
You think Bellingham is the one should be dropped?
If
I
you're
think he
making
should
it,
be either dropped either into the 8 or dropped. Yeah.
if you're making it a
And
question of do you
Foden as a
start,
10.
if
So-
you,
so
if, you,
can I
if you're
know?
making it a question of Foden or Bellingham in the 10, then there's only one answer.
It's Foden. You're dropping. So no,
Why?
you want to drop Saka
Can I ask why?
because Bellingham couldn't create a fucking PDF file.
And Foden isn't a creator. Okay, just to answer you, by the way, the only player in this England forward line that is creator is one player only.
That's really good. That's the best thing you've
What,
ever said,
Kane?
Rory.
No. It's Cole Palmer. I said that many times. Phil Foden is a direct forward. Phil Foden is kind of guy.
Oh,
He will
God.
get you always more goals than assists,
I enjoyed that.
right? Bellingham is not a creator as well. He's going to get you more goals than assists. He's not that guy. The only guy in this England forward line that will look to get more assists than goal for you, that's just based on me watching them, is Cole Palmer. None of them is a creator. By the way, this notion that Phil Foden is a creative player is not. He's a Musiala type player, a direct forward, a direct midfielder, someone that takes the ball, look to score before he looks to create, looks to play with the 1-2 for him to reach the goal. Kevin De Bruyne in the opposition looks to assist, like an Ozil type of player, someone who is like, let me assist you instead of scoring. So that notion that Phil Foden is a creative player, Phil Foden isn't a creative player. He's a direct forward. He's a direct 10 that will get you more goals than assists.
I think
So
you're
that notion that he's
conflating.
creative-
You are conflating creativity outright with creativity via passing. You can be creative via the carry. I don't agree that creativity is only defined by if you can pass the ball well to a Kevin De Bruyne standard or not.
I don't know what you said. Go ahead.
The way you're defining creativity is you're basically saying creativity is passing.
Because you have to pass the ball to the opposition.
No, but you're talking about it purely
Sorry,
from
you have to pass the ball to your
Wh-
teammate.
Whereas you can also be creative via other avenues, i.e., carrying the ball.
And do what?
Yes, but
To score.
ultimately, if
To
you
create-
carry the ball
create
and
for
create the
yourself
space for
that-
yourself and then do a tiny
Uh-huh.
little baby pass, have you created via a carry or a pass there? You've created via a carry. The pass just happens to exist.
So at the end, you'll have to pass the ball.
Yes, but again, that would be defined as creating via the carry. Whereas what you're talking about with De Bruyne, for example, is you're talking specifically about a chance has purely been created via a pass situation. And this idea that Foden can't do that is silly. We all watched the Spurs game where both goals were created via that.
One game.
So that Foden can do that.
So you think Phil Foden is more of a creative player? That's what you think?
Than Bellingham.
Yeah, than Bellingham. Yes, I agree. He's a better
Yes,
technical player
yes,
than Bellingham.
that's not a question. Yes.
Yeah, like I never argued that he's a better technical player than Bellingham.
And
But I
he's
don't think.
better
I think neither of them should play the 10. Phil Foden should not be the 10. Should create a position for him, but you need to have midfielders behind him. I just don't think he's a creative player, Phil Foden, at all. By the way, he hasn't shown me
I
that.
don't know what that
At all,
means.
really?
Yeah,
He is.
I think Cole Palmer's a better creative player than him, in my opinion.
That might be true, but it doesn't mean Foden isn't at all.
By the way,
I
you're
think
talking about dropping Saka for Palmer. So you don't think Saka's a creator?
He hasn't created enough for me. Like he's all right. Like I think Cole Palmer is a better creator than Saka, in my opinion, at the current moment.
I'd say that Gahey's been our best player, but then behind Gahey, it's Saka and Foden who've been our best players.
But all of them are a shit. To be honest with you, Nobbins,
It doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter if they're shit in relative terms. They have been our best performers.
Okay, so best performance of 4 out of 10 does not give me anything.
Well,
If
that's not
someone
go
will
too
give me a
far. Saka
6,
and Foden not been playing 4 out of 10. Let's not be silly
5.
here. No, right. We're going too far the other way. now.
Absolutely, they are shocking, all of them. Not playing 50% of their levels at their club.
Saka
level.
has not been shocking.
you agree with that?
I don't think many people in the England squad have got above a 5 this tournament.
Thank you, Dan.
I don't
None of
think-
them, boys, none of them has played 50% of their abilities that they played for their club this season. Especially, by the way, I'm going to give you 4 players that haven't played 50%. Saka, Foden, Kane, Bellingham. 50% of what they showed us during the season for their clubs. These 4.
I don't know if I agree on Saka and Foden.
And I think some of them someone need to be given a chance before it's too late, by the way. Because we can sit here and say they haven't played well.
Gordon should start. I agree.
So why
We
not
all agree on
Palmer
that.
then? Why not Palmer?
I
Why
like-
Gordon needs to
Saka
start
and
and
Foden.
Palmer doesn't, who had...
Because Palmer's not a left winger and Gordon is, and the biggest problem we've had is not having a left winger.
I think the difference was striking though when Palmer came on in comparison to what Saka had done in the last game and a half. In 20 minutes, I think. I just think Saka looks tired. I just think Saka looks like he's worn out. I feel like the first half hour, he looked electric, and I just don't think I've seen him get to that since.
I think Saka's looking like he's supported by Kyle Walker.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that doesn't help in fairness,
that doesn't help, and I don't know whether Trent would be an option, probably better on the right, and maybe if you want to play Kyle Walker on the left instead of Trippier or something, because at least Kyle Walker doesn't really get forward, and you can't expect that as well.
I have no issue with Palmer starting as the 10, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of hear that as well. I think a front 4 of Palmer, Saka, Gordon, and Kane would be the best way to go at this moment in time.
I wouldn't mind that. And purely because I don't mind benching Foden for this game, purely based on the fact he's not actually been in Germany for most of the week. So if you're going to make that call at any point, I think you can get away with doing it now and using that as the
Can I
reason.
argue
But
something here? Why not
Sure.
Foden? If you're going to have Gordon on the left holding the width, why
Yeah.
not Foden off the right? And he did that for City a lot of times. When he started on the right, and then with the left foot came inside, he scored plenty, about 2, 3, 4 goals, if I can remember correctly. Not playing an out-and-out winger, but starting on the right and shifting inside to occupy the spaces between the midfield and the back line of the opposition. He did
Mainly
that brilliantly for City.
mainly because the one thing that is absolutely tried, tested, and works in this England squad is having Harry Kane drop deep with 2 actual out-and-out wingers
Harry Kane should be dropped.
either side.
That's fine. That's fine.
Harry Kane should be dropped.
Yes, he
That's
hasn't.
not-
Should.
But that's not going to happen, is it?
no,
Like,
no.
come on.
We're
But
talking
we
It's
about-
know-
not going to happen, so that's useless. Okay, it's not going to happen.
But-
That's
but-
useless.
but-
Okay,
but-
I agree with Nobbins. There is no point of me discussing that. Okay.
But Mo, we've literally not seen a setup that gets anywhere near the best out of Harry Kane, despite the fact that we know that of all of the players in the current squad, Harry Kane is tried, tested, and proven. We know how to get the best of him. And that, whether that was having Sterling one side, Rashford the other side, or Rashford and Saka, having two wingers that will make those runs in behind is how you get the best out of Harry Kane. And we've not done that at any point because we've not played with a left winger. So just bring Gordon in
and drop
continue
Foden
with Saka, or bring Palmer if you want. No, play Palmer, play Foden as the 10 and drop Bellingham either to the 8 or drop him completely.
Yes. And this is
We're
the problem with
against
Southgate's own
Slovakia,
making,
not
by the way.
fucking France. I agree, it's not Southgate.
I think it's too attacking, but fine.
We're against Slovakia, Mo.
I think the issue is that England haven't been
Watch Slovakia
too
with
attacking
Lobotka
at
in the
all.
middle dominate the midfield.
But they've got a 37-year-old right back.
You won't do that with Declan Rice in the midfield.
Declan Rice.
That's my boy.
You're taking the piss now.
No.
You're joking. Declan
No.
Rice
Here we go.
dominate. Declan
Here
Rice
we go.
dominate.
Out off the
Yeah.
ball, hell yeah.
Oh, off the
There
ball.
we go.
Okay.
Here we go. Here we go. No, look, I think the idea that we need to go more defensively when our defense has been absolutely fine the way it is.
It's not your defense
quite
have been
clearly,
fine.
our issue has been creating and scoring goals.
To be honest with you, the main problem for England, what I see, is actually being able to pass the ball, dominate possession, move the ball well from defense to the midfield to the offensive line, instead of everyone having to drop.
And he decided that the solution to that was starting Conor Gallagher. Good times.
He's an idiot for that. Like he's
It'd be nice-
absolutely an idiot for that.
It'd be nice to have a left back as well at some point.
Yeah, that would have been
But he
nice.
doesn't have a left back. So
Well, he did. He
No.
just left them at home.
who?
Mitchell, anyone who's left-footed and left-sided.
Yeah.
Chilwell.
Literally anyone. I don't care. I don't care if they play in the Championship. If they're left-footed and left-sided, that would have been preferable to having one-footed, right-footed, right-back Trippier at left-back. It's not his fault, but it's a thing. Then when Mainu came on, it worked really well.
When do you guys play?
I want to see Wharton, but
Monday?
Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah,
Okay, so
Wharton would have been fun as
Monday,
well.
Monday stream will be
He
fun.
clearly doesn't fancy Wharton to start. Otherwise, he would have got a minute by now, wouldn't he?
Monday
I agree.
will be
For me, like
absolutely
in terms of attacking patterns of play, I've only been happy with like one element, and that's been that Saka and Foden's connection in the right half space. Everything else, attacking wise, has been shocking, to be honest. When Mainu came on in that second half, again, Mainu, Foden, Saka linking up was the only nice stuff that I was able to watch throughout the entire campaign so far. So for me, we now need to we need to create a system which has got Saka at right wing, and you got Foden as that right half space player, and that might involve Bellingham playing at left wing, to be honest. But we looked a lot better if we're playing the game of you've got to play Bellingham and Foden on the pitch at the same time, with the current limitations that Southgate's given us. England looked a lot better when it was Bellingham out wide, Foden central, rather than vice versa. So that might be an avenue we need to explore as well. And Bellingham likes to go to the left anyway. Still doesn't solve our width issue, but is he going to start Gordon? I don't know if that's realistic.
But everyone ignored that when Cole Palmer came on. He looked lively.
I thought that performance got so blown out of proportion. It was
I
unbelievable.
thought
No,
he
but I'm
was-
going to tell you the difference. I actually think, and I said that, sorry, Nobbins. Just let me just say one thing.
Of course.
I think actually the players are too comfortable, some of the players in this England squad, and they need actually to be shaken. Like Saka and Foden and Bellingham, by the way, needs to be shaken. Need to be like, listen, these are not your positions. You need to perform. I think they're very comfortable. I genuinely, because the energy and the heat that I saw from Kobe Mainu and from Cole Palmer when they came on, like they want to prove a point. I think this might be something. It might be something.
We're acting like they didn't get opportunities before the start of the Euros to make a point and completely cock it up. Cole Palmer started against Iceland. Kobe Mainu started against Iceland. They didn't stamp their authority on that squad whatsoever in those games. It's very easy to come off the bench and have a bit of an impact, add a bit of energy. It's a very easy thing to do if you're a top player.
Saka can
very
do that
different
as
to
well. He
start
can
the
come off the bench and be absolutely amazing.
He could do, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
fine, try it. To be honest, drop Rice.
At this
drop
point,
Saka. send them on holiday with Ben White, and we'll run.
it is
we'll run
not an
Arsenal next
agenda
season. No
against
problem.
Arsenal, Rory.
Do
I never
it.
said drop
Do it.
Rice. I never.
Do it.
Why did you make it like it's an agenda against Arsenal? I said Foden
I
as
didn't.
well. I said Bellingham as well sometimes.
Send Foden home. Do
I
it.
never
Call up James.
said it.
Call up James
Why
Maddison.
did you assume it's an agenda when I'm like, I wanna stop, but like Palmer, Gordon, I want to try something new. I'm not English. I'm not English. I don't care.
I thought
wanna try
Palmer
something
looked. He looked good when he came on. I do think that I don't know what Dan thinks because I thought he played well, but I think again that the reaction online was almost as if I don't know. I swear I was watching a different game because people were bigging it up as if it was the best thing they'd ever seen. And again, I thought it was fine, but you've got to add the caveats of, he was coming on against a fullback who'd already got a yellow card on that right side, obviously against tired legs, etc. I thought he looked good, but I think that Palmer is a player who I would personally rather be used in the way he was against, who was it we even played? Slovenia, where he comes on from the bench. That's what I think his role is. I also don't think it's a case of Saka versus Palmer. I think if you want to make it that conversation, the conversation should become Palmer versus Foden versus Bellingham. If we're living in a world where Rice and Mainu are starting, for example, if we're saying that those are the two, and we're saying we want Gordon on the left, and because Palmer's not an out and out right winger, he's a right sided player who likes to drift in centrally. So for England's purposes, he's actually more like a 10. So for me, the conversation needs to be Palmer versus Foden versus Bellingham, rather than Palmer versus Saka, in my opinion.
I think Cole Palmer coming on was a refreshing substitution for that game. I feel like that game had gone so stale. I think it was really slow, and I feel like people obviously took a mediocre performance from Cole Palmer's standards out of proportion a little bit because of how poor the England side have been in the last 3 games. Like, we've been really woeful, and I think Cole Palmer, I think the issue I'm seeing is the lack of ideas that these England players have that are held in such high esteem. And it looks like when they're removed from their everyday squad, where they're constantly told and instructed what to do, they have little thought in terms of independence on what they need to do on a football pitch. I feel like that's what I'm struggling to see.
And maybe, to be fair, maybe that's why Palmer did look quite good when he came on, because obviously he's had a season at Chelsea where, again, no offense to Chelsea, but it's been a bit of a mess at times. Palmer's clearly been able to show that he can thrive in chaotic situations, maybe where the structure's like not as good, for example. So maybe that's why also people liked his performance for England so much, because again, I'm not going to have a go at Southgate, but I am. He clearly is not setting up the players in a good enough system or whatever. Therefore, maybe there is more reliance on players who can do that. And because maybe Palmer's had a season of it, maybe that's why, again, he looked better. I don't know. That's a theory.
Yeah, I think it's a massive issue with this England squad. I think really a lot of them have struggled to absolutely show that they have any type of individual, not ability, because that's completely wrong, but they almost don't know how to use it without the system that they've learned how to thrive in. And I feel like that's the issue that Southgate's got, is he isn't able to blend all of these players into a system that gets the best out of all of them, where they're aware of exactly what they need to do. And then I feel like someone like Cole Palmer thrived in a team where going forward there was a lack of structure, and because of his individual brilliance was able to succeed. And I feel like the one thing this England side is lacking is goals, and I think Cole Palmer would probably add some sort of goal threat to the side. But I feel like this England team looked best when they had a chance to run at players. Anthony Gordon, there was that chance obviously where it ended up in Cole Palmer getting a shot, and I feel like that was the first time in a long time this tournament where we've actually seen players run at someone. I think one of the goals probably came from that, in terms of when Saka crossed the ball over to Bellingham. He took on his man, beat the man, got a cross in. And I just haven't seen enough of it. And I feel like when this England team's been allowed to be dynamic and use its strengths, which I feel like they have in abundance, we've actually looked better. I feel like the real issue for me is that this England team are slow. It's stale. They've not moved the ball nearly fast enough, nearly been quick enough in terms of transitioning and moving from different areas of the pitch. I feel like that's where they've really struggled. They've held onto the ball for far too long in certain areas, and it doesn't help as well, by the way, when you've got legends coming out like Paul Scholes saying release the ball, less touches, blah blah blah, when honestly that's not really been the issue.
What did he say exactly?
Paul Scholes said that Declan Rice needs to take less touches on the ball, despite the fact that of every single player at the Euros, there are only 8 players that release the ball more quickly than Declan Rice. If his point had been about Rice passing it forward a bit more, fair enough. But his point about Rice taking too long on the ball is,
I saw the Instagram and I didn't understand what he meant.
It couldn't be much further from the truth.
Yeah, that's why Scholes failed at Oldham.
On the ball.
I actually didn't understand the tweet, like the Instagram post. He said, pass more, Declan Rice. And I'm like, what does that mean, pass more? He passes a lot. Like, he touches the ball a lot in the game. But
it's just one of the most frustrating things for me. Is just like there are some players, like as just like building off what Dan just said there. Yeah, there are some players who just have an immediate chemistry with one another. Saka and Foden, for example, clearly have a very good connection and chemistry with one another. They bounce off each other really well. Again, my favorite attacking patterns of play came when they were together, and indeed when Mainu came on again. They just seem to have a really good chemistry with one another. And I'm not trying to have a go at Bellingham, Kane, because they're fantastic players, obviously, but that hasn't quite been developed yet. Like, there was a moment where I think like Foden, again via the carry, dribbled and was able to get himself to a really good position. He was anticipating Kane to make the run, and Kane just sort of like stood there and was almost like wanting the ball to feet, and then like Foden like played it in. So they don't really have like a connection with each other yet, or chemistry. And like Bellingham as well, he keeps, because of like this free role that, or more floating role that he got at Real Madrid, sort of able to go wherever he wanted basically. But what that's doing is he's getting in other players' way who aren't maybe as used to a free flowing system or whatever. And so, and for me, that comes from like the manager's got to foster an environment where these players are able to thrive with one another, and we just haven't. Sadly, we haven't seen enough of that yet, outside of those very small moments. It's just very frustrating.
I also think it goes a little bit deeper, but I think it's a flawed academy system where the players that are being brought through are the players that have thrived in a system where they've not had to think for themselves. And I feel like in this moment in time, the players that are able to think for themselves are the players that look like they were able to create a little bit more on the pitch. The ones that have very, very intelligent coaches and managers doing most of the thinking for them in terms of a system and what football should look like are the ones that are struggling when they go to international duty. And I think that's the reason they aren't able to create these instant bonds, is because they're not of an understanding of how to play with other players. And I think someone like Foden can fit into most systems and sort of generate that instant chemistry with most players in terms of playing football. I just think the players that he's got in and around him aren't helping him in terms of him succeeding. But you can see him, he'll take the ball himself, he'll beat a man himself. But then I think you'll find some players who, for example, I even think Declan Rice, I think he almost has been so probably transformed in his thoughts from what he's learned from Arteta that he's kind of left that behind a little bit in this England team. And I feel like at West Ham, he was allowed to be a little bit more raw. And I feel like we saw that in previous years in the England team. I think someone like Jude Bellingham is the absolute perfect modern day academy footballer when he actually possesses a way higher skill set than what some systems are even allowing him to play in. And I feel like as a number 10, he's just not been creative enough. So dropping him back to a number 8 where I feel like he's been more suited would be smart.
Did you just say that Foden thrives in most systems?
I think he does. I think Foden as an individual will thrive in most systems. I think because of his natural ability. I think the issue is that the players around him aren't of an understanding of what he's going to do, because they're not creative and free-flowing in thought and individual thinkers on a football pitch. I just don't see it. I think some players, when they come on, who are absolutely able to fit in and build chemistry instantly with someone on Foden's level, will thrive. I just don't think this England team has enough people that are.
I completely disagree with the Foden thing, and I completely disagree with that.
I don't care, Mo. I'm just telling you how it is on a football pitch. I literally don't care. Like it's so obvious.
But I disagree with you. I'm not asking you to care. I disagree. That's your opinion. That's your opinion.
Educated in England.
Hold on, that is your opinion, but that doesn't. I'm not asking you to care. That is your opinion, by the way. My opinion is I disagree with it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just telling you how it is in terms of what these players are doing on the pitch and what they're not doing.
Like, I think
some
that
of them are
Foden
not
needs a specific
think for
system
themselves.
to work
They
with and
they
run.
are needing of instruction all the time. And when the instruction's not coming from someone like Southgate, who isn't educated enough, isn't of the understanding on how his team should be playing to get the best out of his players that he has at his disposal, then there's an issue there.
But then the fact that you say that they need specific instructions, it actually proves that they don't work in all the system. Because
no, but I'm saying I'm not saying that. I'm saying Foden. Someone like Foden doesn't need that. I just
you don't think that
Foden
Foden needs specific instructions?
No, I don't. I think Foden can play in most teams. I think he has a natural ability that would allow him to. I just think the players around him aren't necessarily helping him in that sense. Playing him out on the left when he needs to drift inside, that's why you're playing someone like Bellingham in a 10 who needs instruction.
No, hold on. Okay, for me, Phil Foden, someone that plays under Pep needs specific instructions because Pep is the ultimate system manager ever. And he gets the best out of his players by actually giving them specific instructions and having the right way of playing and the right way to stay and the right places. And it has been, Robin has said that, Ribery has said that, a lot of players have said that. Foden, the problem with him is that he still needs specific instructions. Yes, he's a creative player that moves around and moves in pockets and stuff like this. But if you give Foden the freedom to do whatever he wants, I don't think he thrives as much. I don't think he thrives as much as he did at City, to be honest. There are many, many reasons why players in that type of player like Foden disappear from the world. That 10 flat out, someone that is not a striker, is not a winger, is a number 10 that needs to be behind the four, needs to be a second striker. That player disappeared because you need to run in the midfield. You need the players that will do both aspects of the game going forward and come back. Even Odegaard at the current moment, he actually tracks backs. He drops deep to receive the ball and does all the stuff in both aspects. Foden doesn't. And that's why, because Man City are the best team in having the ball, creating position, staying on the front foot all the time. But before we go on, we have the fraud himself is here, by the way. The fraud himself decided to join us. The fraud himself.
The last 15 minutes.
He's a fraud.
Don't even.
You're a fraud. You're an absolute fraud. But anyway, this is my point. And for me, the system needs to be. If people think Foden is that talented, the system needs to be built around him to get the best out of him. City didn't do that because it's Pep Guardiola. But in England, it's either you pick your battles. Do you build the system to get the best out of Foden, or you build the system to get the best out of Kane, or you build the system to get the best out of Saka? However, Saka for me is the least one that needs building around. Saka can be an out-and-out winger, touchline winger. He can link up with Kyle Walker. You can get someone to link up with him. You can isolate him with the defender and let him work. Done. Over.
I don't like the idea that we need to pick one player and build the team around them and fit a system for them. I look at, for example, Germany, where Nagelsmann has come in with an idea of broadly how he wants to play, and he's picked the players that he thinks broadly are capable of doing that. And it doesn't really, it's not designed for one specific player, but all of the players are suited to that system. And I feel like a better manager than Southgate, who is, let's put it, he is an absolute donkey. A better manager than Southgate would be able to come up with a system looking at the broad group of players and say, okay, I think Foden can make some adjustments to do that. I think Saka can do that. That will suit Kane. To start with, having a left winger off the left-hand side would help. So that's our biggest problem. And I think any idea of trying to just build a new system for one specific player would set us back rather than take us forward.
No major national team is built around a player. Yes. Southgate's problem is that he's a manager that has built a system that relies on pace and power and has taken a team that is technical. Therefore, you're putting technical players out in positions where you need pace and power, and then you're wondering why it isn't working. Look at how Germany is set up. Germany understand they don't have a rapid set of wingers, so they play narrow. They rely on their technical quality. England have a very technical,
and they took a left back.
Yeah, as well. They took a couple of left backs. England have a very technical group of players, and yet it's stuck in like the 2000s where everyone where England players were regarded as being very physical, very sort of loose on the ball, but they could win the battles and stuff. We need to adapt to what we are, which is we have some of the best technical players in the Premier League in the England team. And why are we not playing to their strengths? We're playing... Look at the players that people are asking to come into the England squad. Players with pace and power. Because the way we play relies on pace and power. If we played a different way, more possession-oriented, you wouldn't see calls for Gordon to be in the lineup. You wouldn't see calls for Watkins to be in the lineup. But the way we are playing now suits those players because of their skill set. Look at the state of the attack when England try to get forward. There is no striker because your technical striker is holding hands with Declan Rice at DM because that's how he plays. It doesn't make sense. This is it for Southgate. If there is any inclination that he carries on after this tournament, another generation's wasted for England. You can see the problems. Look at Musiala for Germany, Wirtz for Germany, Spain, all the players that play well for their clubs and then go to Spain and play well, France. And you look at England. Why is it only England where the players play really well for their clubs and then turn to dog shit for the national team?
Because they're far better. They're far better educated, Tom, on the continent in terms of what they need to do as individuals on a football pitch. The English players are perfectly educated for the systems that they're brought through in terms of their academy. It's a massive issue. You can see it on so many levels. You can't tell me that the individuals in the Germany system or the Spanish system aren't aware of how to work in different systems in comparison to what the English players are. Some of them look absolutely lost. Like Bellingham, for me, hasn't been creative at all. And I think he's been a real issue there because he's just been absolutely developed in systems throughout his career as this perfect academy player that now, when it comes to him being an individual in a team, in a system that's completely new to him, he's just not thriving.
I still think that can be put down to coaching, though. Because Germany, for a period, looked really poor, but under Nagelsmann, they look infinitely better.
Yeah, I don't disagree, by the way. If a manager can come in, like you said, Rory, and take the best sort of bunch out of the players that he's got and build a team that, and it fits a certain system where he gets like 2 or 3 or 4 of his best players in perfectly, then I think it can thrive. And Southgate, by the way, is just absolutely not on that level. But people won't understand that unless they've played football.
Southgate's not even a manager. He's actually not a football coach.
No, he's not a coach. He's actually just a man manager, isn't he? He's just managing this group.
He brings the vibes. The players love him.
He's a sports psychiatrist.
Yeah, but all the players at this tournament look like they don't want to be there. So he's clearly not doing that job very well either.
And I think that's why this is the worst tournament probably under his reign, is because this is the first time that the sort of status quo that he's had in terms of fun and people enjoying themselves going away with England is being questioned now, isn't it? It's like the first one, and then all of a sudden on the pitch we don't look as cohesive. I think there's massive issues there.
It's also the first tournament where Southgate's really needed to put his foot down and nail what England's identity is, and he shit the bed.
Yeah,
because he had this whole thing. His whole thing was Trent's a midfielder. And then he shit the bed after 2 games and went, no, Connor is the midfielder that we need. And then he shit the bed after 45 minutes and went, no, Mainoo's the midfielder that we need. So you went into a tournament not knowing what you need. And now you're coming out and saying stupid shit like we made England fun and we still haven't replaced Calvin fucking Phillips. The same Calvin Phillips who wasn't really that good anyway. Like we're not on about replacing Pirlo. We're on about replacing a fucking bang average Leeds midfielder. There has been plenty of opportunities for that. The issue is Southgate isn't good. And this is the same problem England have had in every major tournament, even when they've done well under Southgate. Whenever they've faced a top team with a top manager, they get outclassed tactically. And the individual quality isn't enough. We've been outclassed tactically by some really minnow nations, by the way. If we come up against Austria this tournament, I don't know. I haven't looked at the draw probably, so I don't know how likely it is.
Slovakia.
They would batter us.
If we came up against Austria, we'd get battered 4-0.
Yeah.
Slovakia worry me because they're a well-drilled, well-organised team with a solid tactical identity. What is England's tactical identity? How do England set up to play football?
The issue with the whole happy clappy camp thing, which is all that Southgate has achieved. Like Southgate's only accomplishment is he created a happy camp. The issue with that is that if you're not playing well, the camp's not going to be happy regardless. You can do all of the fucking, whatever games and stuff they play with each other in the hotel. Like, they're not going to be happy when the whole of England is calling them shit. Like, and when he first came in, there was no expectation on the squad, and therefore it was a lot easier to make them happy because there was no real backlash if they played badly. Now there's expectations on that squad, and they're not playing well. You can't keep them happy. So now he offers nothing.
It's just spot on, Rory. Fair enough.
Like if we came up against Germany, do I trust Southgate to find a way to break down Germany's system?
I think Southgate is one of the worst coaches, and Willie Samuel is better than Southgate for Georgia.
But this is the problem. So then you're wasting these players.
Yeah, but at the end, these players should be good enough to play better than this individually.
No.
I don't know if they are.
They
can't outplay a bad coach.
You play the way the
manager. I'm going to give you
one
one example. Cole Palmer at last season looked good at Chelsea, regardless of what was going on around him. Most of the Chelsea fans say Pochettino didn't have the setup right, but the player played well.
No, but I think that's why he looked like an exception the other night as well.
Singular player.
There's a difference.
But if we're talking Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, same Phil Foden, Bukayo Saka, and Declan Rice, to be honest, the problem with Declan Rice is that he's been asked to do stuff that he's not asked to do.
You're not going to have 11 players able to outplay a bad system or a bad coach. That's not realistic.
The problem is, Nobbins, I think what you're misunderstanding, guys, is that how bad it looks. I guess you guys are more than me think this looks way worse than what actually the media's. This is horrific football. What England are playing.
Yeah, because
you guys, England played arguably the worst 3 games in the tournament. You don't
need to tell me, Mo. I know. I was the one who told you.
I watched every game in this tournament, by the way. The only one game that was worse is that last Belgium game.
We had the worst group in Euros history.
Was absolutely horrific. And by the way, it was horrific mostly from England's side, not from the opposition.
Our group was the worst in Euros history. There was one fucking win in 6. Why are people shocked? The problem is...
That's 7 goals, guys. 7.
The media and the narrative around the England camp has been soured by the fact that now the players are lashing out at criticism and now they're fighting back, and it's just not a organised, together group. You're not going to achieve anything when there is infighting and outfighting and no one can agree on anything. The difference in all the other tournaments was there was a sense of unity. Now we've got fucking... It's went so club-centric this year. It's horrendous. Arsenal fans are now turning on Ian Wright because he said you might have to play Bukayo Saka left back. I don't even think that's the worst shout you'll come up with. At least it'd be a fucking left footer at left back. I've had enough of Kieran Trippier doing fuck all because he can't use his left foot. So he can only turn backwards. I know you're wasting Saka, and I know that Saka on the right is a very good asset for England, but it's a needs-must scenario because our dickhead manager didn't bring a left back. No, he did, but he brought a left back who hasn't played since February and has been injured the whole time.
Didn't even bring a left-footed centre back.
No, he could have brought one of them, but he didn't. And the only guy who's actually played left back all season for a consistent amount hasn't even touched the pitch yet. We have played a shit right back. He's been shit this season. Let's keep it real. Kieran Trippier. Newcastle fans will be the first to say that. The shit right back at left back, and then we're going, oh no, I wonder why the England team aren't playing well. I wonder why the left side is so shit. Because no one wants to hold the width on the left. Trippier doesn't want to. Foden doesn't want to. So then everything gets forced to the right. And then you get to the right. Kyle Walker might be the worst on-ball right back, bar Aaron Wan-Bissaka, that this country has. He has not given Bukayo Saka one ball down the line to feet. They've always been 5 yards to the right, 5 yards to the left, or under hit. Then, the midfield, Declan Rice, is he being asked to do a little bit too much? Maybe. Do I also think he could be better in certain things, i.e. a little bit more secure in possession? 100%. But it doesn't help when his midfield partner, for the first 2 games, doesn't play in midfield and is arguably the best right back in the world. Maybe you should play him in his best position. Then, after that, it's fucking Gallagher, who I feel sorry for anyone who has to play alongside Gallagher. That's like a prison sentence. And the only one who's been somewhat decent is Kobbie Mainoo. The guy who I think will be the best to partner Declan Rice, Adam Wharton, hasn't even touched the pitch yet. Your best left winger in Anthony Gordon has had 1 fucking minute all tournament. And Jude Bellingham, who has done nothing of note since the 6th minute of the first game of the tournament, is undroppable. And he's now blowing out his arse. And he is the central hub to everything. When you play a 4-2-3-1, your 10 has to be at the heart of everything. And all Bellingham has done for the last 2 fucking games is chase his first touch around.
Give him some credit. He's lost a lot of duels as well.
And he does that really good thing where he stays down on the ground after losing the duels to try and win the foul and not get one. So, really well done, Jude. Why can't we play Foden, the Premier League Player of the Year, in that position? Maybe, and then you put Gordon out on the left, you get something called attacking structure. The only fucking positions that have not been fucking calamitous all tournaments are centre-back and goalkeeper. That's it. Mark Gahey's done all right. John Stones has been shit, but he's not been asked to do something mad for a centre-back. Don't get me started on Harry fucking Pirlo. Get in the box. We don't have tall wingers. Who the fuck are we supposed to cross to after your 50-yard crossfield ball? Saka gets the crossfield ball, beats a man, looks up, and Bellingham's lying on the floor on the edge of the box because he's ran into someone. Harry Kane stood on the halfway line with his arm around Declan Rice going, fucking hell, lad, did you see that pass then? I am good, me, aren't I? Foden's wherever. And then you lose the ball. England have no identity. There's no cohesion. There's no structure. To win an international tournament, you need to be a team. England are a group of individuals that look like they've been dragged together because someone from the fucking Sunday League pitches went, look, lads, we need to get people together. We're 5 short. Can just get your mates down, whatever. We'll give them, he can be such and such. We'll give him shirts and everything, just get down. There's no structure, there's no cohesion. England are going to go out to Slovakia. They are. I can't. If you watch Slovakia and you watched England, you cannot justify picking England to win that game. The only way they win that game is by sheer fucking luck. Because they are not going to tactically outclass Slovakia. Southgate is not going to win a tactical battle. And let's say we do get past Slovakia by knuck or by crook. It's Italy next. Now, Italy haven't been great.
Or Switzerland, to be honest.
Or Switzerland. Both of them teams haven't necessarily been great. But they're still better than England have been this tournament. Then you get past them and you get to fucking Austria. Austria would be a fucking, oh my God. If you think Iceland in 2016 was bad, imagine what the sort of aftermath, the fallout after an Austria 4-0 would be. Because that's what it will be. I'll tell you right now, Austria will beat England 4-0. That's what it would be. And if England somehow make it to this final, the narrative in this country will change. It'll be, Gareth's done it again. Maybe you need to give him another tournament.
That will not be the narrative.
We all have eyes. We all have fucking eyes. We know what we have seen this tournament.
Been gaslit into keeping him for fucking 4 years in the first place since the last final we lost. No chance. If he doesn't win the tournament, he goes. The second we're knocked out. Before the players are even down the tunnel, he's set.
I just don't get how he's reverted so much. I actually thought he turned the corner in the World Cup. The last World Cup, we played some really good stuff. And we gave France a proper game. And on another day where Harry Kane isn't trying to fucking be an NFL kicker, England go on and win that game. And probably go on to make the final. And who knows what can happen in that final. But we were playing some really good stuff that tournament. A 6-1 or 6-2 win. A 3-0 win against Wales. A 3-0 win against Senegal. We were looking like one of the best teams. How the fuck have you reverted to this? Because I would argue that individual quality-wise, this squad is better than the one that was at the World Cup.
Definitely.
So how the fuck have you shit the bed this much to now turn us into fucking C-Tech Arsenal? Sit back, drop everyone deep, but we've got none of the attacking output. We've got none of the defensive structure. So we just look like someone who, you know, when they do them YouTubers who do them tactical things.
Yes.
And it's like screenshots. Southgate's team meetings are pulling up tactical analysis of Arsenal versus Man City, and he's going, look at what Arsenal are doing, do that. I'm not going to tell you anything more. Just do that. Watch this video. That's it. We try and be them. We try and be structured defensively. We try and be dangerous on the counter-attack, but we have none of the profiles for that. So then you're just watching a fucking shit show. And God only knows what the narrative will be if England make it deep in this tournament. There will be calls for Southgate to keep his job. There will be.
I hope he goes to Man United, though. I hope he goes to Man
United. Oh, I would love
it. It'd be brilliant.
I really want to see it for the comedy, for the stand-up comedy. I'll book tickets to go and watch it, bro. That would be amazing. And also the press conferences will be absolutely top. They should do it in the stadium and just people pay money to go and watch the press conference. Let me do the super chats. And guys, we got about like 650 of you here. Let's get the likes up a little bit. So Foden fits into... So let's do these so we can get out, because I have the side show with Dan as well. After this, we're redirecting to side show. So Foden fits into any system, but at the same time, his England teammates don't understand his movement, make it make sense.
He's not playing in his position. Yeah, if I chuck Mohamed Salah on the left wing, the players wouldn't understand his runs.
Tom, you gave excuses to everyone, apart from Stones and so. You gave excuses to everyone, but you came to Bellingham and said Bellingham stunk up the pitch. Why isn't Bellingham?
I've given no excuse to Kane.
Why isn't Bellingham given the excuses that he plays in a different system and a different way of playing and a different quality of players around him than Real Madrid? Why not? Why he's the only one? Why is the only one from you that he's like, oh my God, Foden is this, Saka's that, this and this, but Bellingham doesn't get it from you?
Right. First of all, Kane's got it as well because Kane has been shit. Stones has got it
because he doesn't play in the Premier League.
No, Kyle Walker got it as well, and Stones got it because they're both being shit as well.
I don't think Kyle Walker has been shit. By the way, I think Kyle Walker has been England good player along with Gay. By the way, just to establish this. I think Kyle Walker has been good.
We'll agree to disagree, Mo.
Yeah,
but Bellingham, there's a difference between what Foden's being out of position is, i.e., going from the centre to the left, and Bellingham's out of position is going from up there to slightly further back and having someone else in front of him. The key principles of his position remain the same. Whether you play as a false nine or an attacking midfielder, you are still there to be the creative hub of the team. The issue I have with Bellingham is he looks fucking shattered and he will not get benched and he will not get rested. He looks tired. His touches are tired. His passes are tired. His runs are tired. He looks leggy. My issue with Foden is I'm not getting to see the best version of Foden because we are playing him out of position and in the wrong role. How are you asking a number 10 to play as a touchline winger? And I'm getting annoyed when he's not doing what he was doing as a number 10.
And when he is allowed to drift in, there's players in his way.
Or he doesn't get the pass.
You have to drop one of them, Bellingham or Foden at the end.
I think you do. Tom, the only thing I agree with pretty much everything you said since you come on. I think our World Cup squad was slightly better. I think in terms of
this is a very unbalanced squad.
Yeah, I feel like it was more balanced, and I think it had players that have thrived in Southgate's system. Yeah. I think people are forgetting how much we're missing Raheem Sterling in this Southgate system. He did so well under Southgate. He's probably been England's best player since
Sterling didn't play the last World Cup, did he?
Huh?
Sterling didn't play the last World Cup.
He went on after like game one. It was
game one.
It was Foden.
The last Euros as well.
By the way,
Rashford as well had an exceptional.
Dan, you have someone very similar to him, which is Anthony Gordon, a direct winger that will get to the goal, that will hold the width.
I don't think Gordon plays in the same way that Sterling played for.
Gordon hasn't played the touchline wing in a possession dominant team. That's my worry with, and that's my hang up about trying to sign him. I do wonder how he works in a team that has the ball.
Aslan Romi saying, by mentioning Maino versus Iceland, you prove that you think like Southgate. Why would that overshadow a man of the match performance against a better team in Belgium? Especially when nobody played well against Iceland either. Rory.
It doesn't overshadow it, but the point is one good game followed by one bad game isn't necessarily enough to. So, by the way, I have no issue with playing Maino. Maybe I didn't make that clear. I have no problem with playing Maino. If you want to keep Bellingham in the team, you have to drop him to the 8. If not, and I'd happily drop Bellingham, you play Maino.
I think Maino next to Declan Rice will provide way more control than Bellingham next to Declan Rice.
Wharton needs to get
more. Or Wharton, one of them. But one of them. But yeah, I think
the thing we're forgetting here is that when England have controlled the games this tournament, at times when we've had loads of the ball, we've been woeful with it. We've been far too slow.
Not in the first 30 minutes of both games. You know, when you control the ball in the first 30 minutes of the first game, and I think the second game, you kind of created some dangerous plays from the right side, especially. Even, by the way, Foden came centrally, tried to pick up the ball, and things happened. Once you give up the position, now England look clueless because England aren't a transition-based team.
I don't know if I agree with that. If you think about the goals from the last World Cup, a lot of the goals were scored on transition. Where, like Tom said, the pace and the power like that we had was what was making us look so like brilliant in front of and scaring other teams in front of goal.
This England team doesn't explode once it wins the ball back.
Yeah,
in the last tournament, you'd have Rashford running, you'd have Saka running, you'd have a
Foden
midfield from Bellingham.
Came on.
And
Grealish.
You had directness, which meant that England would win the ball back, and within 3 passes would be in the opposition half, close to the opposition box, which is where the strengths lie. Now, when England win the ball back, it goes back to Stones, to Gahey, to Rice, to Trippier, to Gahey, to Stones, and teams getting a structure, and then England can't do anything. So then Kane drops out of striker to come receive the ball, and then nothing can happen then because there's no focal point to build off of. The team is broken. It's fundamentally broken.
Tony Bloom said, I disagree that Palmer is the only creator. Saka is a two-way winger. Pretty sure he had the highest expected assist in the Prem last year. Saka is a two-way winger. I agree with you. Saka is a direct winger, but also he can cross and stuff. But I don't think he is a passer like Cole Palmer. I think Palmer has that eye for a through ball, for a run behind the defense more than Bukayo Saka. That's
how many changes would people make for the next England
game? Rory,
you
disagree with that as well? You disagree?
I don't think I've seen enough of Palmer doing that to suggest that that's true.
In the Premier League, I think Palmer had this eye of watch it, like if this final pass, you know, that he picks up the run of Jackson or someone else, he makes the ball behind the defense, which is what Odegaard does, for example.
Yeah, Mudryk against Forest. That's a great example.
Like, for example, Rory, you know that goal that he scored against Bayern Munich or Porto when Odegaard made that pass?
Yeah.
I see Palmer doing that more than Saka doing that Odegaard pass. That's my point about this.
Yeah, because
I see Saka crossing far post. I see Saka maybe getting to the line, cut back and stuff like that. But I see Palmer seeing a Kane run, a Foden run behind the defense. I see that happening. I see Palmer even picking up Saka's run from the right side behind the fullback. I don't see Saka doing
the problem with Saka's creativity is he's not got the runs that White's runs that he would make around Saka were massively important to creating space. Walker doesn't do that. So when Saka gets the ball, the opposition just put 2 players on. He's good. He's not going to take on 2 players every single time. And he gets no support from the right centre mid. He gets no support from the right back. So the few times he does get past him, he can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, just statistically, Cole Palmer got 8.7 expected assists last season and Bukayo Saka got 11. So there is a big difference there. And it's just different types of... You're picking up one specific type of ball. I see Saka pick up the ball on the right, cut inside, and then find a cross to someone making a run at the back post. We were very successful doing that with Havertz. So...
I'd agree, actually. Saka is exceptional at picking out his man when he enters the box. He is exceptional at that. It's probably one of the biggest strengths to his game.
Ashraf is saying, in conclusion, the manager's trash, the players are overhyped. It's the England cycle every tournament, golden generation down the drain every time.
I think the players are overhyped. It's not being used properly. I need to shoot off though, guys. Bye-bye.
All right.
Good show. Sorry.
No worries. We're almost done here. Go ahead.
The players are good though. That's the thing. It's just they're not put in the right environment to showcase that. They play their club football week in, week out at the very top level under good managers who play to their strengths. And then they come to an England camp, which basically just gets all the best players and goes, how the fuck do we use these incorrectly?
Yes.
And does that.
I agree.
And that was the same with the golden generation as well. Only the England manager at that time could put Paul fucking Scholes at left mid.
Yeah. Great.
I don't think players are over. I think one of the biggest issues around just the general conversation throughout this Euros has been, and I see so many of them in the chat, is all of these people that are non-English Premier League fans that just run agendas against players because of the club they support. And it's like, if you're not English, you don't support England, I have zero interest in what your opinion on England is if you also support a Premier League club. Because the nonsense you see in the chat from people clearly bigging up specific players from their club and tearing down other players is nonsense.
At least Rory didn't pick me in the. At least I'm not.
Exactly. You're not a fan of a Premier League club, so you don't come at with you.
I don't have tribalism, to be honest. I don't have a tribalism in me, like for this thing.
Exactly. So, but it's the ones that support a Premier League club but don't support England run with these agendas, and it's been a theme throughout the Euros. It's very difficult to have honest conversations.
People will say I'm hating, but I genuinely believe Palmer cameo has been overstated. Him and Saka largely tried similar things. Nothing came off for both.
I don't know if I'd agree with that. Do you know what? I think I'd agree that people, like we've already touched on a little bit. I'd say that people obviously were more excited by what Cole Palmer added to that performance because of how stale it had got. He came on in a game where someone like him, with his natural abilities and the way he plays the game, was gonna excite people. The same with Anthony Gordon. The same with even Kobbie Mainoo coming on, because I don't think he was exceptional. I just think it was such a refreshing change from what Conor Gallagher offered in the first half.
He just did the basics then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right?
He just did the basics right, so it looked fantastic because no one else did them.
Conor Gallagher was absolutely the wrong decision to start that game of football. Like that is such a huge.
When it's starting,
Dan, you just hit the nail on the head.
When is starting Conor Gallagher being the correct decision in any football match? When has any football match sat there and went?
Sometimes,
sometimes I think there's in a game that is highly transition based. I think Conor Gallagher can thrive. I've seen him do really well. In a game where you're playing against a team that's going to sit back and be defensive, you absolutely
not only one of the things about this Euros is that Tom, this Euro has been slow football in general. So Conor Gallagher doesn't fit that. Conor Gallagher fits maybe an end-to-end game, a high energy game, which is some of the Premier League games are. You know what I mean? Especially for Chelsea. But for England, it's a very slow pace that he looks out of place.
Conor Gallagher doesn't fit England because the end-to-end games England would be against a France.
Conor Gallagher would have fitted
right
England
now,
in the last two tournaments, though.
Yes.
Maybe. But even then, I think the players that were there were better football.
I'm not saying they weren't, but as a rotation option, he would have fitted the squad better.
In this tournament, if England were to come up against France or whatever, in what would be England's version of an end-to-end game, I would not have Conor Gallagher anywhere near the team because quality-wise, he doesn't have it. He might give you energy, but he's not got the quality. Conor Gallagher shouldn't have come to this tournament. You should have taken another midfielder.
You will need him. I promise you will need him.
In
these last rounds, Tom,
I feel like
in these last rounds, if England are winning 1-0 or something, you will need
him. Put on Kobbie Mainoo.
No, but what if controlling the game isn't an option? That's where Conor Gallagher becomes.
You need someone to run, defend, tackle, get that yellow card. That's Conor Gallagher.
Are you telling me Kobbie Mainoo can't?
Cannot do that. Kobbie Mainoo, no.
That's it. That's literally all what he fucking done for United. Hence
why he was
revolutionary. Yes.
Kobbie Mainoo.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you telling me that at 1-0 up?
The player completely different.
Right, so you're telling me at 1-0 up, if it's 1-0 up, you would rather bring on Conor Gallagher than Kobbie Mainoo?
Yes, unless I want to control the ball. Here's the difference. Unless I want to control the ball. If I'm looking to defend and defend the lead, I'm going to bring Conor Gallagher, Kobbie Mainoo. Kobbie Mainoo, Man United is not the controller. They need a DM next to him to do the tackles and do the defensive work. That's why they need that. That's when they're looking at the Ugarte. Kobbie Mainoo is more of a controller. Kobbie Mainoo is a tackler. What are you watching?
I'm not saying he's solely a tackler, but Kobbie Mainoo is a better tackler than Gallagher. Conor Gallagher has not made a tackle this tournament.
Conor defensively is actually pretty sound.
No, you're going too far.
All Conor Gallagher has done this tournament is fucking foul.
Yeah, because he's chasing the game. I think he's being asked to do too much in terms of what he's doing as well. I don't think he just doesn't suit this style of football at all.
Defensively,
if you are asking me, there is no game state this tournament which Gallagher suits more than the other guys that England have in the squad. I'd bring on Wharton ahead of him.
I'd agree with that, by the way.
I'd bring on Wharton and I'd bring on Mainoo ahead of him. in any situation.
I think if you were playing Turkey, I'd probably back Conor Gallagher to have a great game.
Let's finish the super chat because I've got to go. I think the hype around Jude Bellingham is too much. Yes, player of the season in the La Liga, won the league, second high scorer in La Liga, first time at 20 years old. Yes, he's hyped. Yes, Emmanuel, you're right. He's overhyped. Yes, absolutely, Emmanuel. You're absolutely correct here. I don't know who you support, but you're absolutely correct. ZDT, I see the super chat. Would find the proper identity at a private 10 England. All right, then. If you think so. It is what it is. Dio, thank you, Dio. England is unbalanced. All-star team of English EPL players with no cohesion and a terrible coach. I think that summarizes it, to be honest. It's an unbalanced team trying to shoehorn. Like, for example, if you're going to play Foden on the left, if you play him in his right position, you just don't play him at all. At all. Like shoehorning players.
The only way Foden on the left works is if you have a left back that is up and down for 90 minutes. So when the left back's up...
Gavardio.
Or even a Shaw. If you've got Luke Shaw, you can get away with it.
Yes.
Just Shaw will hold the width, and then Foden can come inside. The issue is, Kieran Trippier, at left back, does not want to go forwards. And when he does go forwards, he does not want to go wide on the left.
Stop making excuses for these motherfuckers. No semis. No semi. Drop everyone to the bench next year except Gahey and play youth players. Make this 11 earn their spot.
There should have been more rotation. I agree. Watkins should have got a start. Gordon should have got a start. Palmer should have got a start. Wharton should have got a start. Gomez should have got a start. Because this team that played for 3 games didn't show enough. I personally would have went, when you play Slovakia, go for a team of Pickford, Trent at right back, Stones, Gahey, by virtue of there being no other centre-backs, Gomez at left back, Wharton, Rice, Gordon, Palmer, Saka, Watkins. Yeah. Saka's the only attacker that I keep in the starting 11 because he's not done that bad. Yeah. There's only so much you can do with what's around him.
GDJ is saying, don't you dare, Mo, leave my players alone. I'm the only one defending your player. I'm the only one. They want him dropped. I'm the only one defending you, Bellingham. But anyway, listen, guys, this is going to take you to Saeed, where myself and Dan will be there. I don't know what we're talking about, but this will be a brilliant stream. Guys, Rory's channel in the description, 6:30 UK time. He's going to be there, a show. Dan is going to be, of course, his channel's in the description. I want to get Dan to 10K soon because Rory passed 10K. Let's get Rory to. Guys, subscribe to the guys. Help the guys, please. And Tom Little is off to Germany in about 2 days. And we're going to see content from there, from Tom Little in the description. And Nobbins as well. Guys. Listen, this will take you to Saeed. I want to thank the guys. Rory, appreciate you so much. Brilliant conversation, to be honest. Dan as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Mo, I do care what you think, by the way.
You think I really get upset? I don't get upset. It never gets personal on my channel, alhamdulillah. Never. I never, like, by the way, if you don't care about my opinion, that is fine. At the end, my viewers care about my opinion more than yours. Okay, we'll see you guys on Saeed's channel. Stay here, don't go anywhere. We're out of here, people.